Life inside the trenches was not battle. It was survival. Not against the enemy, but against the trench itself. Morning didn't begin with sunlight. It began with fear. A soldier opened his eyes, not knowing if he would see night again. The trench smelled of rot, of wet soil, of death that never left. Men lived shoulder to shoulder, no privacy, no silence. Every movement was watched, every sound was risky. Silence was dangerous, because silence meant the enemy was listening. Noise was worse, because noise meant shells. Men learned the language of war. A whistle in the air, drop to the ground. A deep thud, close, very close. A scream, too late. Most soldiers never fired their weapon. They waited. They waited for orders. They waited for relief. They waited for something to end this. Food arrived cold, sometimes frozen, sometimes spoiled. Men ate quickly, not for taste, but because eating meant staying alive. Water was worse. It came from puddles, from rusted containers, mixed with mud and disease. Men drank it anyway, because thirst gave no mercy. Sleep was a luxury. A few minutes at a time, sitting, standing, leaning against mud walls. Dreams never lasted. A sudden explosion, and sleep vanished. Rats ruled the trenches. They fed on bodies left behind. They fought over flesh. At night they ran freely, across boots, across hands, across faces. Some men stopped reacting, because screaming did nothing. Lice were everywhere, in hair, in clothes, in blankets. They spread disease, they spread misery. Men scratched constantly, until skin broke, until blood showed, until infections followed. Rain was a curse. It turned trenches into rivers. Mud swallowed feet, sometimes legs. Men fell, some never got up. Boots stayed wet for weeks, feet softened, then cracked, then rotted. They called it trench foot. First numbness, then pain, then loss. Blackened toes, open wounds. Some lost toes, some lost feet, some lost legs. Many lost their future. The trench offered no safety. Shells collapsed walls, wood snapped, men were buried alive. Shovels worked fast, sometimes too slow. Gas attacks came silently, a strange smell, a burning throat. Masks on, masks off. Some never made it. Lungs burned, eyes blinded. Men clawed at air, begging to breathe. Shockshell destroyed minds. Hands shook uncontrollably. Eyes stared into nothing. Some couldn't speak. Some couldn't move. They were called weak. They weren't. They were broken. Letters from home arrived late. Mothers wrote about peace. Fathers wrote about pride. Men read them quietly. Some cried. Some stared at nothing. Above the trench was death. Snipers watched constantly. One wrong move, and it was over. Men learned to live low, to breathe quietly, to exist, not live. Life inside the trench was not living. It was waiting to die. The trench wasn't protection. It was a slow grave. And even worse, this was only the middle, because the worst